everyone, this is Carol with A-1 Vacuum and Sewing here in Reno. Today we're going to start stitching the mini quilts. This is a new Kimberbell product. It basically works like the mini quilts. They release from January to June, which is the one that we're going to start working right now. And then soon they're going to release July through December. So we're going to start with the January today, but you can get your CD with A-1 Vacuum and Sewing. You can get it on their website. And the CD will include all the quilts all the way for June, okay? You can also get the embellishment kit, which will include all the leather, the knit fabric, the glitter, the mylar sheets, everything that you need to make those mini quilts look amazing. You can also get the fabric kit on the website. You can buy either monthly or you can buy the whole set from January to June. I already have my fabric cut and I also place SF101 on the back. You can either use the Kimberbell brand or I use SF101 just because it's cheaper, and you can buy in bulk as well. So just talk with Jeannie. I'm sure she can get a bulk order for you guys. For the mini quilt series, they are going to be a 12 by 12 finished size quilt. Today we're going to start with the January one. I'll show you step by step. We're also going to add the spreadsheet on the Facebook group so you know which size batting to cut or which size hoop. So let's go ahead and let's get started. For the first block, you're going to need a 6.5 by 6.5 of the gray fabric. I did already iron my fusible backing on the back, and again I did use SF101 just because it's cheaper, but you can use the Kimberbell product as well. And you're going to need a 4 by 4 piece of batting. This block will fit in a 5 by 7 hoop, and I already have my muslin all attached here. The reason why I'm using muslin, we are going to add batting and a piece of fabric that already has fusible backing. So all those layers will be enough to hold the stitches, so I don't need anything heavier than that. I will be using muslin because it's cheaper than stabilizer, and then I usually save the stabilizer for projects that require a stabilizer, and then I cannot use anything else. So let's go ahead and let's start stitching the first block. We're going to start by first adding our quilted design and then our embroidery design, okay? So I'm going to go to embroidery. I'm going to go to my USB. First, we want to add the Winter 5, a 4 by 4 design. So I'm going to go to Mini Quilts, my background quilting, Winter 5. This is the file that my machine takes, and then a 4 by 4. So we're going to set. Now I'm not going to move. Go ahead and add. I'm going to go back to my USB. And now we want to add the 5 by 7 chilling design. So I'm going to go to my embroidery files, January, 5 by 7 chilling. I'm going to go ahead and set. So once we set, because we didn't move anything around, it's already centered in there. I'm just going to go ahead and do embroidery. You can switch the size of your hoop. And I'm just going to put it in here just so you guys can see. So this inner line shows my 5 by 7 hoop. So it fits in my 5 by 7. Now that I have everything ready, I'm just going to click on this button right here. This one on my machine allows me to switch and skip steps if I need to. I know that I'll be skipping one step, so I just want to leave on this screen. Okay, I will be using the Cool Grade 3. This is a glide thread color for my background quilting. So I'm just going to thread my machine. So the first step, the first thing is going to stitch is the placement line for my batting. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch. The next step is the tack down for the batting. Because we already trimmed the batting as a 4 by 4, we don't need that step. That is only if you stitch and then you cut the excess. We don't need that. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip. Now it's going to stitch the fabric placement line. So I'll just go ahead and start stitching. I am going to spray the back of my batting and the back of my fabric with some basting spray. We are going to place the batting on the first line, the inner line, and you can see it matches perfectly fine. And we are going to place our background fabric. And I try to measure, I kind of eyeball just to have enough around the edges, but we'll trim this down anyways. So I don't stress out much. I don't stress about this. So let's go ahead and stitch. The next stitch is going to be the tack down for the fabric, so the fabric doesn't move when we do the quilting. Next we're going to stitch the background quilting. So I am gonna still use the cold grade 3 color, and I'm just gonna start. The quilting are like scarves, and they're so cute. They're adorable. I like my thread for my quilting to kind of match the background color, so it's not so bright and on your face. I like it to be settled. Next we're going to stitch Chilling with My Snowmies. I am going to use Marlin Glide Thread. It's asking for a dark blue, and I was going to use Denim, but I think that will be too dark. So I'm going to do Marlin. Because when we place the design on our machine on top of the other without moving it around, it's already centered in the middle. So there's nothing else that we need to do. Just going to go ahead and press start. They digitize the design, because I thought this was going to be a knit fabric inside, and I was looking for my fabric on my embellishment kit and I couldn't find it. And I look at the instructions and I realized that it was all stitch, which is really cool. What I'm really excited about this mini quilt project is that they're small, so the blocks are good, at least on the January one, they're 4.5 by 4.5. So there's not a whole lot of stitches. That means that I can start and finish the project and hopefully the same day. So we'll see how it goes. But with the cuties, it's a cute project as well, but they're so big and there's so much that goes into it. I'm still in June. turned out really cute. The stitches are perfect. What I like to do before I continue, I like to trim the jump stitch. I like to use the Kimberbell sharp snips, and you can get the Kimberbell scissor set at the A-1 website. They are really good. So all I do, I have this to help me out. I just go in there and trim them all. And you can do that after too. You don't have to do it right now. We're not putting anything on top. Now I'm going to place my white glide thread in my machine. It's going to stitch some snowflakes. And we're almost done with this block. The next step is those two black lines right here. The instruction says do not stitch this step. They're lines for design placement only. So basically we're done. So this is how the design turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and remove from my hoop. I'm not gonna trim or iron anything right now. I'll do it all at once at the end. But this is how it turned out. The stitches look really good. I'm just going to go ahead and set it aside. Next, we're going to stitch the Snow Me 1. So it's going to be the snowman with the yellow scarf and blue hat. For this one, I already have all my items right here. You're going to need your 6.5 by 6.5 background fabric with the fusible backing. Your batting is going to be a 4 by 4. This is the knit fabric that comes on the embellishment kit. It's adorable. It's really cute. You also need this to be fused with the fusible backing or SF101. Okay, and then when you do that, you want to make sure you go with the low heat first so you don't damage the knit fabric. And you're going to need the glitter for the snowman. This is also in the embellishment kit. For this one, we are going to have to pill. It does come with a protective sheet on top, like a plastic film. We have to pill this before we stitch. Okay. We're also going to need a wash away topping. This one is a 4 by 4. I did cut a little bit bigger because I just had some leftovers. And basically this one is going to protect our design when stitching. The scarf has a little bit of fringe on the end, so you are going to need a water soluble thread. The one that I use is the Vanish thread. It's this one right here. So Vanish Light, and I have a whole bobbin filled with that. I did write WS for water soluble on this bobbin, that way it don't get mixed, and I always keep them on this plastic bag as well so it doesn't get in contact with spraying my iron, which has water in it, so it doesn't get damaged. So I usually keep it in here, and then I don't get them mixed with anything either. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go to the machine. We are going to use a 5 by 7 hoop with the muslin, and I already explained why I'm using muslin. It's just cheaper. Since we have all those layers, this will be good enough. So for the Snow Me 1 block, we're going to do the same thing. First, we're going to add the quilting design, which this one is the Winter 5 4 by 4. So the same one. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to my USB, my quilting designs, Winter 5 4 by 4. We're going to set. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add, and I'm gonna go back to my USB where my quilts are and my embroidering designs. Okay, So this one, we need the 5x7 Snow Me 1. So it's the snowman with the yellow scarf and blue hat. So let's see, it is this guy right here. Perfect, and I'm going to set. So now it's already centered on the design, and I'm going to embroidery. Again, I will be using a 5x7. I am just gonna go ahead and click right here. So when the time comes, I can skip the stitches. We are gonna start with the background quilting as well, which is the block by block. So I am gonna put the cool grade 3 again. We're still stitching the gray background. So I'm just gonna go ahead and thread my machine. Okay. The first step is the placement line for our bedding. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. The next step is the batting tack down. Because we already have our batting trimmed to the finished size, we don't need that step, so I'm going to go ahead and skip. So now it's going to stitch my fabric placement line, and while it's stitching, I am going to spray the back with some fabric spray, okay, for the batting and also for the fabric. I'm going to go ahead and place my batting in the center and my fabric as well. And again, I like to kind of eyeball, but we're going to trim this down anyway, so don't worry if it's not properly centered in there. Next is the tack down for the background fabric, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. While I'm doing those tack downs, I like to stitch the fabric or hold the fabric down like this. Even though I sprayed, I want to make sure there's no bubbles. It doesn't create any bubbles in here. And then next, it is going to do the background stitching, the quilting, which is the same one. It's going to be the scarves with the carrots. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Now it's going to stitch the snowflakes. So it's gonna say to remove the plastic film from the glitter, which we'll do in just a second, and stitch the snow detail. After we do the snow detail, we're gonna do the placement line for the glitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and change my thread, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my white. And start. So this is the plastic film that it's asking us to remove, so you just remove it. And now the glitter sheet is now just very flimsy. It's not as hard anymore. And then after we stitch this down, we press the iron on top to make sure it adheres to the fabric. So I'm just gonna put this one aside for now. And the sheet, you can just discard it. We won't need it. We are going going to need our iron, so make sure you turn your iron on so it starts warming up. So right now we're going to stitch the snowman placement line. So I'm just going to keep the white. And it says place the snowman glitter right side up. We're going to place it right side up and do the tack down line. Okay, so we're going to do that right on top, and it's big enough. So trim the glitter close to the stitch line. So we're going to trim really close. Be careful to not cut the stitches, okay? I am going to use this snip right here. The reason why they're just shorter than the Kimberbell one, so I can go right here in the middle. To be honest, I don't even know what brand this is. I bought this a long time ago. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Okay, and then that's when we're going to iron, so it will adhere to the fabric. So let me go ahead and let me switch the camera view so you guys can see my ironing station. Okay, so I do have my iron right here. It's warming up. It was too hot. I had it in cotton and it was too hot. So now I'm putting it into synthetic. You don't want to iron on top of your glitter. It will melt down. It will stick to your iron and you're going to damage and lose your expensive iron. Why do I say that? Mistakes that I've made. So I am going to use a press cloth. This one is from OESD. You can get this at A-1. So just talk with Jeannie. I'm sure she can get you one of these. I have dogs, so I keep it in the bag so it doesn't get dog hair everywhere. So I just cover a little bit like that. And then I grab my iron and I put it in. It's really good to have a mini iron when you're using a 5x7. I already had this one, so hopefully it will fit. And then you just hold and press for 15 seconds. Be careful with you using a big iron to not put the iron on your frame. You don't want to damage your frame either. Okay. Do just a little longer here. Make sure it's cool before you continue, and then it's going to do the decorative stitch. I'm just going to go ahead and start. Next, it will stitch the winter hat placement line. It says that the color does not matter, but we'll be putting the knit down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch my thread to blue now. That way I don't have to do it later. I will be using marline for this blue. So let's go ahead and do that placement line. We're going to place the fabric hat right side up, aligning the fabric grain with the placement line. And then we're going to stitch the tack down and trim close to the stitch line. So basically it's saying this is the grain of the knit fabric. So I don't know if you guys can see it in there, but this is the grain. You want to make sure you align it this way. So this is the snowman hat this way. Align it that way so the hat will look nice. And then we're going to do the tack down. So I already have the blue. It says that the color does not matter anyways, but I like to do blue just in case. Trim close to that line. I will be using the Kimberbell snips just because this is a very thick fabric. In my other one, it's not that sturdy. So. lot of knit fabric. So my suggestion, if you guys want to save a little bit of knit fabric, just put it on the corner here. That way you still have like half of it. So you can probably do 2 with 1 piece of fabric. Okay. They did give you a pretty big piece. So for the next ones, that's what I'm going to do. So now it says, place the top away, covering the upper half of the snowman. And then with the blue, stitch the winter satin outline. So I'm going to go ahead and place this. Mine is a little bigger, so it covers the whole snowman, which is fine. And you can either tape it, so you can tape it, or you can hold down. I like to sit here and hold down. So let's go ahead and start the satin outline for the snowman hat. I'm gonna use my Kimberbell tape to tape it, because I don't think we're going to remove this to the end. So it will need to be taped anyways. Let me go ahead and tape it while it's stitching. Be careful not to stitch your fingers, because I did that yesterday on a different project that I was working on. Next, we're going to place the white to stitch the hat detail. Next, we're going to stitch the face, and then right after the arms, it's calling for black. I was gonna use the shadow thread, but I'm gonna switch to black just so it matches the little cute buttons that we're gonna do it later. So let's go ahead and put black. I'm just using black from Glide. We're just gonna stitch face and then arms. You wanna make sure your water soluble topping or the wash away topping, it's covering the face, and then we're going to place the arms as well. Next is going to stitch the arms, so we're still using black. Next, we're going to stitch the snowman nose, and I have some options here. I was gonna do bronze, but I'm thinking he's gonna be too shiny. I like him a little bit more like a tan snowman. Should we do this? This one is Mars. Mars will give him a little bit more of a tan. So next we're going to stitch the nose fill, so I'm going to do Mars. My snowmans are going to be a little bit more tanned. Next, we're going to start stitching the scarf. And then first we need to change the bobbin thread to a water-soluble thread. Remember, we just talked about it. I use the Vanish Light one, so I have it in here. After doing that, we're going to stitch the scarf fringe. I am going to use Buttermilk, the glide thread. I think this is going to be really cute with the blue. So let me go ahead, remove this. I keep my regular bobbin thread close by because we're going to have to switch again. I have my water soluble, and then I have WS here for water soluble. I'm going to change my thread. I'm going to put Buttermilk. And we're going to do the little fringe. Next, we're going to change the bobbin thread back to the white, the regular white, and then we're going to do the fill and then the tack down. So let me go ahead and remove this. What I do, I put straight back into my little Ziploc bag. That way it doesn't get mixed with anything else. And then I'm going to put my regular bobbin thread. We're going to go ahead and press start. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and go to my ironing station so we can remove everything out. The next step, we just don't stitch. Okay, so I did remove all of my topping. And now I flip to the back. We're going to spray with a little bit of water. And then you're going to rub to dissolve those water-soluble stitches. Now we go back to the front and then use one of these to slowly and really carefully, because you don't want to rip them, and you get them to the front, just like that. And if they're not coming up, you just put a little bit more water. So this one is still pretty hard. So you just do a little bit more water and a little bit more of rubbing. Are you guys like this too? When you start stitching, your sewing room is pretty and organized. And midway through, everything is disorganized and I have stuff everywhere. Anyways, let's go to the Snow Me 2 block. So for this one, you're going to need the background, which is going to be blue, so 6.5 by 6.5 with the fusible backing. You're going to need the glitter for the snowman. I'm just going to peel this so it's easier in a little bit to pull them off. You're going to need your batting, so a 4x4 and a wash away topping. Again, I am going to use muslin because we have all those layers of fabric there, so this will be good enough. So for this block, we're actually changing the quilting design. So now we're going to use the Pebble 2, a 4x4. And I'm sorry if you guys have a little bit of a glare here. But we go to quilting. We are going to go to pebbles, so Pebble 2. And then I select the one on my machine, and we do want Pebble 4x4 horizontal. So it's this one right here. And then we're going to set. Now we're going to add, we are going to add our Snow Me 2. So it's the snowman with the pink little ear warmers. So this one. January. We want the Snow Me 2. It's this one right here. We're gonna set. Again, is already centered in there, so you can just send it to embroidery. We are going to do, and I hope it's not too shiny in there and you guys can see, but we're gonna do the tack down, sorry, the placement line for the batting. We're gonna skip the tack down for the batting, and then we're gonna continue. So to skip, just click down here and it will skip. So this is the one that we're gonna skip. We will start with the placement line for a batting. I am going to quilt with marlin, so it's going to be a blue to be on this fabric. So I'm just gonna keep the marlin right there, and I'm going to start. I am going to skip the next one, which is the batting placement line. Again, we already cut this perfectly to the size, so we don't need that. And now we're going to do the fabric placement line. And then I'm going to go ahead and spray my fleeces. When placing this fabric, you can either do with the lines going north to south or with the lines going east to west. I want them north to south because I want them to look this way. make sure that whatever you pick, whatever you do, that you keep all the way through the end. So when you place them all together, they all have the same direction, okay? So I am going to do north to south or south to north, and we're gonna go ahead and do the tack down for the fabric. Next, we're going to do the quilting design, which are the pebbles. Next, I'm going to place my white because we're going to do the headband for the earmuff. Is that what it's called? Earmuff. There you go. So this is the white. And again, I'm going to go ahead and trim that because I don't like it. And we are going to do one side of the earmuff fill, so just one of them. I am going to use the color Crush, the Glide Thread Crush. Now I'm going to place my white back because we're going to start the snowman body. The reason why is the other earmuff fill is going to be on top of his body. Okay, so now I have the white. We are going to do the placement line. We're going to place the glitter and then do the tack down. So let's go ahead. So placement line, don't forget to remove the sheet on top of your glitter. You don't want to stitch through that. Place your glitter and then do your tack down. Now we're going to trim this close to the stitch line, and remember, be careful to not stitch through the line, the stitches. What do you guys do with the leftovers? Do you guys keep these for maybe a small design here and a small design there? What do you guys do? For those ones, I usually throw it away. But for the knit, I'm probably going to keep it. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to place our press cloth on top. And with a hot iron, we're going to go ahead and hold for 15 seconds. And now I got my small iron. Perfect. And then you want to make sure this will cool before we do the outline for the snowman. Okay, let's go ahead and do the decorative outline. Now it's going to stitch the other pink earmuff. So I'm gonna go back to my Crush fabric or thread. And it's gonna have a spot that wash away on top. So what I'm gonna do, I am gonna tape this time. Do you want to tape it far away though? So the Kimberbell tape doesn't stick that much, but I can still use them at least twice. So I'm just going to put it in here and save for the next one. I'm going to go ahead and stitch the earmuff. I'm gonna keep the pink. We're gonna do the cheeks. I'm gonna do the face and then the arm, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my black thread back in. Next, we're going to stitch the nose, and then I'm going to use Mars. Again, I want my snowman to be a little tanned. Next step is we're going to change the bobbin thread to the water soluble again, so we can do the scarf fringe. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. I'm gonna get my water soluble, drop it in. For my scarf, I am going to be using pistachio. It's like this minty blue or minty green. I just think those are going to be perfect colors. It's going to match the pink of the earmuff. It's going to be really cute. So, okay, now we're going to stitch the fringe. Okay, next let's change the bobbin thread to a regular thread again. Place it in. We're gonna keep the same color, and again I'm using pistachio. We're gonna go ahead and stitch the scarf. We're not going to stitch the next step, so we're all done here at the machine. Let's go ahead and remove all those toppings. Okay, so I'm gonna save the tape for the next snowman. And we're going to remove the excess. And if you have any leftovers, again, just use the little cotton swab. I am going to flip and spray right here, and then we usually just rub. I have my cotton swab right here. If you do like a little bit of rubbing, you should be all set, and you should release all those. Then we're gonna go ahead and lift them. Okay, now I am going to set aside, and we're going to start the next block. Next, we're going to do the Snow Me 3. So it's the snowman with the red scarf and the hat. So we are going to need the 6.5 by 6.5 background fabric with the fusible topping. Mine has, it was at the end of my bolt, so I have this line right here, but I know we're going to trim down, so I'm not worried about it. We are going to need the glitter for the snowman, our 4x4 batting. This is the top hat, so it's 2.5 by 2, and our wash away topping. Okay, so for this one, we're going to use the Winter 5. So we're back into winter. We're going to go to the USB. We're going to go to quilting, Winter 5, 4x4. And we're going to add the Snow Me 3. So we're going to go to our embroidery files, January, And it's our Snowy 3. And we're going to set, and we're going to send to embroidery. Okay, so I already stitched my placement line for my batting and my fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and place them right here, and I did put some spray. Next, we're going to do the tack down so it will hold. And next, we're going to do the quilting design. This one right here is the Winter 5. Next, we're going to place the white thread so we can do the snowflakes detail. Make sure you don't have your water soluble thread in, okay? Now I still have the white. We're going to do the placement line for our glitter. And while that is stitching, we're going to remove that cover sheet from the glitter. Make sure you place covering all those last stitches, and now we're going to do the tack down. Next, we're going to trim and do the ironing. Next, we still have the white. We're going to do the outline for the snowman. We're going to change our thread color to black because we're going to start doing the head and the arms. So first we're going to do the placement line. Make sure you put your leather facing up, so the fuzzy side down with the leather up. I'm going to see if I can do this. I can save a little bit of this leather. We're going to trim the leather as desired, so you can trim as close as you want or as far as you want from the stitches. When it says to trim as desired, it means that it won't have any of the stitches on top, so be really careful. Next, we're going to place a wash away, and it's just covering the hat and half of the snowman's body. So I'm going to reuse that Kimberbell tape. It's going to stitch the face and then the arms. stitch the headband fill, and it's asking for the light greenish color, so it's gonna be the pistachio. Okay, next we're going to do the nose, so I'm going to use Mars. So now it's gonna have us change the thread, the bobbin thread, to the water soluble again. I'm gonna go ahead and put my WS water soluble here. And what it's gonna stitch is going to stitch the little fringe for his scarf. I will be using Wildflower, the red for the scarf. Now we're gonna change back to a regular thread. And stitch the rest of the scarf. Oh, I really like the red. It looks really pretty. The next step, it just says do not stitch this step, so we're done here. Let's go remove all the topping and get the fringe release. Perfect, and now this block I will set aside so I can cut in a little bit with the remaining blocks. Next we're going to do the Snow Me number 4. So we're gonna need the 6.5 by 6.5 background fabric with the fusible backing. You're going to need your leather. You're going to need a 4x4. Your wash away topping, and then your glitter. So this is the spreadsheet that will be on the A-1 Vacuum and Sew Along group that you can download. But basically, Jeannie is great with this. She already put the bedding size that you're gonna need for each block, the quilt design that you're gonna need for each block, and then a suggestion of thread colors, and also the final cut that you're gonna need to cut. We will trim all the blocks at once at the end, but she already put it in there for you as well. So just print this out. You can get this at the Sew Along group on Facebook. We're going to stitch the Snow Me 4. So we are going to do the quilting block by block, loops 3, 4x4 horizontal. So we're gonna go to embroidery. I'm gonna go to my USB. I'm gonna go to my mini quilt, my background. We want the loops 3. We want the 4x4, but we also want them horizontal. So this one. We are going to set. Now we're going to add, we want the Snow Me 4. So we're gonna go here. Gonna go in January. This is our Snow Me 4. And it's already centered how it's supposed to be, and then we're gonna embroider. We also have the spreadsheet. I just showed you this. It will show and it will make it easier for you. So we're doing Snow Me 4, so loops 3, 4x4 horizontal, center, and you will put the design on top. It will also show you the page, so it's really helpful to have this. Sometimes the Kimberbell instructions are a little bit hard to understand, so you can get this at the Sew Along group that Jeannie will post, and it's just easier for you to see what you're gonna use, and then also the color suggestion for each one. We're gonna start with the placement line for the bedding. Now I'm gonna go ahead and skip the tack down line. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the placement line for the fabric. I'm gonna go ahead and place my bedding and my background fabric. Remember, if the other one you use side east-west lines, Make sure you set that as well. I did north, south. So I'm going to place it like that again. And then I'm going to do the tack down for the background fabric. Make sure you now put the thread color that you want for your background quilting. I am using Marlin, and we are doing the loops. So this one is going to look different than the other ones. Let's go ahead and remove the protective sheet out of the glitter. I'm going to set it right here. We're going to change our thread to white. We're going to stitch the placement line for that glitter. So we're going to place covering those stitches, and now we'll do the tack down line. So we're going to do the same thing as we did for the other snowmans. We're going to trim close to the stitch line. Be careful to not trim the stitches. Then we're going to use a press cloth and we're going to iron it. Okay, so mine is no longer hot. I still have white. We're going to stitch the outline for the snowman. Next, we're going to stitch the hat placement line. We're going to place the leather, and then we're going to do the tack down. So I'm going to put my black thread. So leather right side up, so shiny side up, the soft side down. We're going to trim as desired. Remember, this is the last stitches on the hat. It won't have anything else. No outline, nothing else, okay? So be careful to not trim through the stitches, and then you can leave as thick as you want. We're going to place our wash away topping, covering half of the body of the snowman and the hat. I do have my Kimberbell tape that I've been reusing it from previous snowmans. So I'm just going to place them on the end. Just want to have the thread stick to it. Next, we're going to stitch, so we still have black in, we're going to stitch the snowman eyes and mouth. Now we're going to stitch the arms. Now we're going to stitch the hat band, and I'm going to use a buttermilk. It's asking for a little yellowish color. We're going to stitch the nose. I am going to put my marks. Next, we're going to stitch the scarf. We will change it to a green color. I am going to use willow. And we'll just start with the fringe. So first, we're going to change the bobbin thread to the water soluble. I'm going to do that. I have my WS bobbin right here. Now we're going to bring the bobbin, the regular bobbin thread back. So I'm going to remove this. And then we're gonna finish the scarf. Now let's go ahead and remove our tape. And again, I'll save the tape for the next one. We're going to remove the water-soluble top-in. And if you have some left over right here on his fingers, you can just dab with a little bit of water and that will come out. I'm gonna flip. We're going to spray some water on that scarf and then we just do the rubbing. And it should have release. So just use this little seam ripper just to help me pull to the front. Perfect. Now this block is ready. For the snowman number 5, we're going to need the blue background 6.5 by 6.5 with fusible backing. We're going to need the glitter for the snowman body. The knit, this is going to be the yellow knit. Make sure you do put fusible backing in the background too. A 4x4 of batting and the wash away topping. Let's go ahead and now do our Snow Me 5. So we're going to need the loops, 3 quilting design, horizontal, and in the 4x4. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my USB. Going to go to my quilting. We want loops. Loops 3. We want the 4x4 horizontal. And we want our Snow Me 5 as the design. January. And Snow Me 5. And set. It's already centered. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start embroidery. So I have the blue thread marlin in there. I'm going to stitch the placement line for the batting and the placement line for the background fabric. Remember to skip the next one, and now the placement line for the background. Put the batting. Remember, this is the blue background, so if it's gonna look north-south or west-east. Now I'm gonna do the tack down for the background fabric. I already have my blue in, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start the quilting. We're going to start the snowman, so we're going to put the white thread in, and then we're going to do the placement line. We're going to put the glitter right side up, and then we're going to do the tack down. The plastic film from the glitter, you don't want to stitch with this. I'm going to go ahead and place my glitter, and then we're going to do the tack down. I'm gonna go ahead and trim and iron, and I'll be right back. I still have the white in. I'm gonna do the outline for the snowman. Now it says that the color does not matter for the placement line for the hat. So you can either do the white, because you already have it in there, Or what I'm gonna do, I am gonna change it to buttermilk because that's the next color that will matter. So I'm already gonna switch. So next we're going to do the placement line, and we're gonna put the knit fabric right side up, and then we're gonna do the tack down line. So let's do the... So you wanna make sure you align the grain with the placement line. So I'm gonna do it this way. Make sure it covers everything. And because the other one I had a lot of leftovers, I'm just going to do it in the corner. Now I'm going to do the tack down. This time I put it in the corner, that way I have all those left over, so I'm just going to cut here so I can use this again. And then it's going to have us put our wash away on top, like that. A little bit of a knit the yellow fabric. So we're going to place the wash away topping, and then we're going to stitch the satin outline for the hat. If you didn't change the thread before, make sure you change your thread now, and I have the buttermilk in. Now we're going to put the white thread back in so we can do the hat detail. Now we're going to place the black thread so we can do the face, and then right after we're going to stitch the arms. I already have black, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the arm. Next we're going to stitch the cheeks, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my crush. Now I'm gonna put Mars so we can do the nose. Now what we have to do before we continue, we have to change the bobbin thread to the water soluble, because now we're going to stitch the fringe. Okay, for the scarf I will use Robin Egg. It's like a blue, color. It's really pretty. It's gonna look good with that yellow. I'm going to remove it. We are going to put our water soluble thread. Now we're going to change the bobbin thread back to the regular and stitch the scarf. Won't stitch the next step. So what this is done, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove the topping. I'm gonna save the tape for the next block. remove this. And then just like we did with the other ones, I'm going to go ahead and release the fringe. Next block is the Snow Me 6. So we're almost there. We need a 6.5 by 6.5 of the background fabric. This one is going to be the gray with the fusible backing. You're going to need a 4x4 batting, the glitter, and the wash away topping. I'm still using the 5x7 hoop, and I have my muslin in here. So let's go ahead and let's start. We're going to start by adding the quilting design. We're on Snow Me 6, so we need the Winter 5, a 4x4. So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna go to my USB. Winter 5. 4x4. Now I'm going to add, and we're doing Snow Me 6. So quilt designs, embroidery, January. We want the Snow Me 6. Inside. We're going to start by doing the placement line for the batting and the background fabric. I'm going to skip the next one, and then I'm going to do the placement for the fabric. In my background. And now we're going to do the tack down for the fabric. Now we're going to go ahead and do the background quilting. This one is actually a little bit different. So we're going to start with the headband detail, and it's going to be in black. Now I'm placing robin egg back in. It's going to be the blue. We're now going to stitch the earmuff fill 1. So next we're going to stitch the snowflake. So I'm going to place the white thread in, and let's remove the plastic film from the glitter. With white, we're going to do the placement line for the snowman. We're going to put the glitter right side up, and then we're going to do the tack down. We'll place the glitter up, and now we do the tack down. I'm going to go ahead and trim close to the stitch line. I'm going to press for 15 to 20 seconds with the press cloth. Don't forget the press cloth. And I'll come back so we can do the outline. Now we're going to do the outline for the snowman, and I have white in. Now we're going to place the wash away, and I'm gonna tape with those tapes that I've been using. I'm gonna stitch the other earmuff. So I'm gonna put my robin egg in. Now we're going to place the black in so we can do the face and the arms. Next is going to stitch the arms. We're going to stitch the nose, so I'm going to put my Mars orange color in. We're going to put crush in so we can stitch the cheeks. Next we're going to work on the scarf. We already have the pink color in with crush, but we do have to change the bobbin thread to the water soluble. So I'm going to take this. Put my water soluble. I am going to remove this excess here and stitch. Now we'll go back to the bobbin thread with the regular thread. So I'm going to remove this. While my machine finished the last stitches for the scarf, we're gonna start getting ready for Snow Me 7. So you're going to need the 6.5 by 6.5 background fabric with the fusible backing. You're going to need the glitter for the snowman, the 4x4 batting, and the knit fabric for the hat with the fusible backing as well. Okay, we're also gonna need the wash away topping and a 5x7 hoop. Next we're going to do Snow Me 7. So we need Pebble 2, a 4x4, and then our Snow Me 7 design. So we're gonna go here. I'm gonna go to my USB. So we want Pebbles 2. And you want the 4x4. Now I'm gonna add January, and we're gonna do our Snow Me 7. They're already centered, so let's go ahead and stitch. Okay, so I stitched the placement line for the batting and for the fabric, the background fabric, and I'm gonna place my batting and the background fabric on top. Remember your direction. If you started horizontal, keep it horizontal. If you're doing vertical, you can just keep it the way you're doing it. I'm gonna do the tack down for the background fabric, and I'm using Marlin. Next, we're gonna do the background quilting. Now I'm placing the white thread. We're going to stitch the snowman placement line. I'm gonna go ahead and place the glitter, and we're gonna do the tack down line and trim and press from 15 to 20 seconds. Once it's cooled down, it's not warm anymore, I'm gonna go ahead and do the outline stitches. Next, we're going to stitch the hat placement line. We're gonna place the knit fabric right side up, and then we're gonna do the tack down line. It says that the color does not matter, but I will be switching to my next color, which is Wildflower. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the switch right now. It says to align the grain of the knit fabric, so I'm gonna do it this way. We're going to trim close to the stitch line. Now we're going to place the wash away topping, and you're going to put the color you want on the hat. If you did not switch it before, you want to make sure you switch now. I am putting the Wildflower. Next, we're going to place the white so we can do the hat detail. Next, we're going to put black so we can stitch the face and the arms. Next, I'm gonna put crush so we can do the cheeks. Now I'm gonna place Mars so we can do the nose. I'm gonna place the buttermilk because now we're going to start the scarf. But before we do it, it says change the bobbin thread to the water soluble thread. Because we do the fringe first, so I'm gonna remove this guy. And I'm gonna place my water soluble. And I'm gonna stitch. Now we're gonna change the bobbin thread back to the regular thread, and we're gonna finish with the scarf. Alright, so this is the last block and we're almost done. So for Snow Me 8, we're going to need the gray background fabric, 6.5 by 6.5 with the fusible backing. We're going to need the glitter for the snowman body, a 4x4 batting, and the pink knit. This one is my favorite. Don't forget to put fusible backing on the back and the wash away topping so we can protect all those layers. This one will also be stitched in a 5x7 hoop. So for Snow Me 8, we need a Winter 5. It's a 4x4. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to my embroidery. We want Winter 5. The quilting. There you go. Well, now we are going to add the Snow Me 8 design. So I'm going to go here. And Snow Me 8. And now we're going to go ahead and embroider. So I do have my regular bobbin thread now and my coal gray color. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch the placement line for the batting and the placement line for the background fabric. I'm going to skip the next one, and now we're going to do the placement for the background fabric. I'm going to place the batting in the background fabric. Now I'm going to do the tack down for the background fabric. I'm going to go ahead and start the quilting. So I'm going to go ahead and put the white thread so we can do the snowflakes. Now we're going to stitch the placement line for the glitter. Let's remove the cover, the plastic from the glitter. We can place the glitter and do the tack down. Now I'm gonna trim close to the stitch line and press with a hot iron for 15 to 20 seconds with the press cloth on top. Don't forget that. So I already trimmed, it's already cool. I'm gonna go ahead and do the outline. It says that the next color does not matter, but because we're going to do the hat and I'm going to be using crush, I'm already going to switch. We're going to do the placement line. We're going to place the fabric right side up, and then we're going to do the tack down. We're going to do the placement line. We're going to place right side up, and then you're going to line the fabric how you want. I'm going to do it this way. You're going to line with the grain on the placement line. Now we're going to trim close to the stitch line. We already have the crush fabric in there, so all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna place the wash away. Now we're going to stitch the satin outline. I'm gonna go ahead and place the white so we can do the detail. On so we can do the face. Next, the arms. Now have the crush color to do the cheeks. And now Mars for the nose. And we're gonna change the bobbin thread to the water soluble. And our color to blue. And I'm gonna use marling for this one. We're going to change the bobbin thread back to the regular. And we're going to finish the scarf. So we're not going to do the next step. I just removed the topping. I'm going to release the French press and then cut. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to trim all the blocks and we're going to stitch them together. Alright, so I have all of the blocks here. They're not trimmed yet. I am going to iron it before we do the trimming part. So what I do, I'm going to flip to the back because we don't want to damage anything in the front. I have some best press. I'm going to spray and then I am going to iron it and make it really, really flat. I don't know if you can see the difference, but look how puffy this one is and look how flat this guy is. So this one is all ready to be trimmed. I'm going to go ahead and iron all of them. So same thing, I just spray with some best press and with the hot iron. So I'm just gonna finish ironing all of the blocks and then we're gonna trim them. Now that we have everything stitched and pressed, I already pressed all of them so they're really flat. We're going to start trimming. So we're going to start with this one. Put it in here. This one we're going to center and then we're going to cut 1/2 and 1/2, 4.5 by 4.5. I'm using the orange rollers here. So basically it's going to be right on the outer stitches. Trim, and then you're going to turn it slowly so it doesn't move around. And I'm going to hold down and trim. Should all be trimmed. Perfect. If you have, it's usually like one stitch or one thread hanging in there, you can just trim it. See, like this guy. And you're set. The pop rollers are tricky. it takes a little bit for you to understand how they work. You're supposed to hold it and then turn. I don't have that type of coordination. So what I do, I just leave it on. I'm gonna do with the next one. I just leave it on, and when I turn, I slowly turn, and I'll make sure it doesn't get caught anywhere else, so my ruler doesn't move. Okay? But if you prefer, you can just hold it and turn and trim it again. This is the Snowy 3, and then this one we're going to cut a 4.5 by 4.5 with the bottom of the snowman against the inner border of the edge ruler. So this is going to be touching right here. And if you prefer, you can hold it and turn. And then if it doesn't trim all the way to the end, you can just do that. This is the Snowy 4. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to line on the edge of the snowman. And all of the snowmans are going to be the same thing. You're always going to line to the edge. I love the Kimberbell orange rulers because you can see right in the middle what you're going to be trimming, what do you need to keep, what you need to keep, what you need to trim away. And it's not hard to use if you have a rotating mat. If you have a rotating mat, it's easy. If you don't have a rotating mat, you want to make sure you have access around your table. Before I got my cutting mat, I used to tape the edges down on my mat because this would have moved. So I would tape it down, and then I will cut here, and I will turn, and I'll go here, and then I'll cut here, and then I'll cut here. But I do have room around my table. This table right here has wheels. I can move it around. So I will be able to go everywhere to cut. If you don't have that, or if you're trying to make it easier, just get a rotating mat. Okay, I'm gonna do this guy. And then same thing with the 4.5 by 4.5. You're gonna line on the bottom of the snowman. Okay, so let me continue trimming them all, and then I'll be back so we can start stitching everything together. I will be working on my binding. I'm going to put the binding together, and then I will be binding with my serger. A-1 Vacuum and Sewing does have a class on how to bind with your serger. If you have not taken it yet, I would recommend doing it, so it's an amazing class. Okay, now that it's all connected, all I'm going to do, I'm going to press wrong sides together all the way through. Now that the snowmans are all stitched, we're going to start stitching the blocks together. We're going to do row by row. So this is going to be the first one. We're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch. So we're going to stitch this with this. And I like to mark my 1/4 inch. And you can mark your 1/4 inch, or you can use your 1/4 inch foot on your machine. Just to save time on my machine, I like to stitch all three together. Now I'm going to go to my iron, and I'm going to press the seams open. Those are the next blocks. You can either use a 1/4 foot or mark it. I'm going to go ahead and open the seams open. Now we're going to stitch all the 3 rows again. So I have the first one with the second here first. So I'm going to line them together. And I do have some pins. I'm going to pin it because we do want to make sure these lines, they match. going to stitch the last row here. This is the background fabric. I am putting right side down. Then I'm gonna add another layer of batting, and then the reason why I'm doing this, I want this to be stiff so when I hang it's not flimsy. And it's bigger than the actual quilt, so don't worry, we're gonna trim around. And the mini quilt top. Look how cute it turned out. I already hand stitched the buttons, and I glued the pompons on the hats. So now I am going to do this stitch on the ditch. I'm gonna do 2 straight lines here and then 2 straight lines here. Okay, so I did my stitches, and this is how the back is going to look like. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna trim the excess. I'm just gonna put my ruler right here. Take this. And now that I have my binding here, I'm going to go ahead and do the binding all around. Again, A-1 Vacuum and Sewing does have a class on how to do the binding on your serger. So I won't explain right now how to do it, but I'll show you the final project in just a little bit. This is how it looks. This is the final project. It turned out so cute. I love the little buttons and the pompons on the hats. And we did the binding on the serger. What do you guys think? I loved it.